Hello everybody and welcome to Realistic Realtors with Superior Coaching School. I'm Nick, this is Bill, and this is volume 11 of our success planning guide. And today we're talking about mapping out your plan. And you know what? We're going to keep it real with you today because that's what we're all about. We're all about putting a plan into action. So this is going to be a really impactful lesson, so pay attention.
Yeah, Nick, mapping is step one to a realtor's success, okay? Because failing to plan anything out is planning to fail. You must sit down and have a map, a guide to how you're going to be successful. And the first one we're going to review is your sphere of influence. I want you to make a list of everyone that you're warm and fuzzy with. Who are the people that basically like you? It could be friends, it could be teachers, it could be people at your wife or husband's place of work, your kids' friends, whatever it is. Make that list out and make them all know that you are a realtor now. Put it out there. You have to touch them first.
And Bill, what do we call that? We call that our top 100, right? So you want to take your top 100 people, try to make a list. Go ahead and do this while you're with us. Go ahead and make a list. Try to get to 100 people that you can think of in your sphere that surround you, that are people that know other people, that are well connected. Because honestly, you might find it a little bit harder than you might think.
Sure.
But that's going to be your first step. And when you're looking at mapping, really what we're doing, we're brainstorming, right? Yep. So we want to think about what are all the different ways that we're going to generate business this year. And so sphere of influence, like you said, Bill, especially for newer agents, is going to be very key. But we want to keep in mind, how are we going to use our sphere to promote? And we're going to do that online and through social media. So make sure that every name you write down, not only are they in your CRM, but they're connected with you on social media.
Yeah, and another important thing for me growing my business was farming a community and sponsorship. So let's go over those two thoughts right there. If you're in a community and they have a golf course, we'll go sponsor the next golf tournament, okay? Make sure you farm that community. Put flyers out there, advertise on their community website, advertise in their local magazine. Put it out there that you are a realtor, okay? You have to get connected in that, community that you're trying to, map out your plan and build your business.
Yeah, and I guess what that kind of takes us to is you have to budget, right, for everything that you're going to do. And so that's a whole lesson in itself, but I think it's part of your plan. And so when you're looking at your budget, how much you want to spend on marketing, print advertising might be some, flyering, things like parking lots, and farming, you might put some towards internet ads. Like essentially what you want to do is you want to say, I'm looking at my plan here, and I want to break up, where am I going to get all my leads from? Where am I going to get my business from? And so whereas we made a plan previously on we're going to break it down, how much business we want to do and how we're going to get to those goals by doing open houses or how many listing appointments do we need to go on. This is now how are we going to generate that business from a marketing perspective, right? So we talked about generating business from Sphere, some print advertising, flyering, things of that nature. Let's get into a little bit more though of expireds and withdrawals and FSBOs and how that can be a part of your business. What are some ideas and how to kind of budget time-wise for that?
Okay, so take a look at the slide we're looking at right now. We have sphere of influence, we have flyering parking lots, we have farming, internet ads, sponsorship, open houses, withdrawals, expireds. So that's our map that we're using, right? And a lot of print ads. Now we have to figure out, like Nick said, how we're going to budget for each of those different categories. And Nick just brought up withdrawals and expireds, which doesn't cost you anything, right?
But you're budgeting your time, right?
Budgeting time, not money for those. So what are you going to do? I don't want you to look up an expireds or withdrawals for like all of, Atlanta, Georgia. Pick a small section of Atlanta, Georgia, and every day look, see what expired and what house was withdrawn. Write down the contact information, look them up, stalk them, on tax records. And don't even call them, Nick. Go to their house. Make sure it's not daylight saving time. Go when it's, not dark out. Knock on the door and say, hey, your house just expired. And you know something? I know one of the reasons why, because I pulled up the MLS and your past realtor didn't do a great job listing your house. There's a few things here I would do differently, and I actually highlight them for you. I would love to sit down and talk to you sometime. What's a good time about listing your house?
But essentially what you're saying is that you have to commit to that. And I think what I meant by budgeting really is, part of it is the money. Part of it is the time. It's also the commitment. So like Bill said, we have the slide behind us. We have all of these different methods of generating business, right? And what we're talking when we're talking about mapping is where do we think we're going to get most of our business from? And if you've been in real estate for a few years, right, or you've been doing this for a long time, mapping your plan every year can also be, where did I get my business from last year? And taking that into account and reflecting and saying, okay, so 90% of my business was referral based and from my sphere of influence. I need to put more time and energy into client care and to getting referrals, but maybe I should also be devoting more time towards other avenues of generating leads because maybe that won't last forever, right? I need to work on generating perhaps new business, right?
Sure. So, as you brought before, Nick, when we get in the business and we map out our plan, we have to be specific about it. It has to be measurable, has to be achievable, it has to be realistic, and we have to do it in a timely manner. So, as Nick said, with all those different points he just hit on, take those suggestions we have, map out your business, and just prioritize it from 1 to 10, okay? And if you're someone like Nick who's going to do a lot of social media, then go out and budget your business towards social media. Someone like me, it's going to be print ads.
Exactly. So print it out and lay it out for you, and say, here I'm going to have 1 through 10. Here are the 10 ways I'm going to generate business next year. And again, if you've been in business for a while, look at your business last year and go back and look at your ROI and say, where did I get most of my business? Where did I generate most of my leads?
Nick, why don't you give an example, and then I will. How would you map out for next year your business? And then I'll share with mine. What would you do?
So if I was looking at my business and I said, okay, well, last year I was able to generate a few buyers through social media and through my sphere, because I have a very large sphere, and that's something that I've worked on because I pride myself in networking and going out to a lot of events. So I'd say my top few would be sphere of influence, generating leads through referrals, and by constantly going back and asking referrals. And I'd say networking, is something that's big. So I go to a lot of events, and so it's something that I would continue to do. But then one thing that I want to add to that, so this might be fourth on my list, is sponsorship. I've been at a lot of events. Maybe I want to be on stage at some of these now, handing out the award or sponsoring something or sponsoring a booth at a large, convention, something of that nature. And so that would be on my list. And I would also say, obviously, running some ads on social media and now also farming some neighborhoods, because I do believe that, as more people think that, hey, we're getting out of old school tactics, it's all online, new school, we're kind of oversaturating the market with digital leads. And I do think there is a lot of opportunity to take, a few neighborhoods, a few subdivisions, start farming it again. So that would be my list.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go over my list. Pretty similar, but it's going to be a little different, prioritize it a little differently. So we all know the show Deadliest Catch. And what do? We see the picture with the crab nets behind me. They throw out 12 different nets one morning. They come back a day later, and what do they find? The first 2 nets are empty, right? The whole crew is like all distraught, right? They're going to make no money. Then the next day they come back, they pull up a few more nets, and there's a few crabs in there. They're starting to get hope. The third day, Nick, they come back, and those crab nets are stocked with crabs. So they're really excited that, hey, this is going to be a winner. Same thing in real estate. So I'm going to throw out 12 mapping, networking ideas every year, and I'm going to see what works. So for me, I'm going to pick a community, I'm going to farm that community. That's going to be my number 1. My number 2 is I'm going to work my social network, my sphere, right? So that's like a combination for me. I might have a social network group that I go to once a week, and they become my sphere. So those are the top 3 that I do. But what we have to remember with this example with the crab nets, 9 out of 12 aren't going to work, but we have to toss out 12 different crab nets, 12 different marketing ideas, from farming to social media to sponsorship, right? To open houses, to expires, to withdrawals. You will find out what works for you best. And that's what you have to take and implement into your plan, implement into your mapping to reach the level of success that you're happy with. And guess what, Nick? Every year, it changes. I had a magazine for years that worked. It stopped working. I had to get rid of the magazine. And I took that money and put it elsewhere.
And it's all about reinvesting it, exactly. And so I think the other part of it, just like you said, you can reinvest your money. That you might spend less money on one form of lead generation, and you might say, okay, now it's time to let's reinvest that somewhere else. You also could do the same thing with your time. You might look at it and say, okay, well, I went to a lot of these networking events and can't seem to get any traction. I'm a member of this bowling league or something like that, and there's another realtor there, and they seem to be getting all their business because he's been there longer. It's hard to compete sometimes, and sometimes you got to move on. Like you said, the nets come back empty. Well, that tells you loud and clear, okay, you're doing something wrong. You should move those nets, right? And so I think it's very important every year when you're mapping to reevaluate the last year. See where you spent money and spent your time. What did you invest your time and energy into, and what provided the results? And focus more time and energy onto the nets, so to speak, that resulted in the most business. And then also reevaluate, man, there are things that I can do differently in these areas that I need to do better on and I can improve on.
Yeah, so in review, we're going to do this. In review, I want you to take out a piece of paper, and you're basically going to use our success guide. We have actually a great worksheet in there, and you're going to put down 10 different roads to success. Okay, it could be farming, it could be print ads, it could be social network, it could be expires, withdrawals. Put it all down, and then budget out, money-wise and time-wise, where are you going to put your energy? And you have to implement it. And once you implement it, after your first quarter, you can go back there and say, what's working? And make some notes. After your second quarter, you can go back and say, what's working? Take your notes. And get rid of some of those nets that aren't working.
I think the important thing you just said there is reevaluating as you go, right?
Yep.
So as the year progresses, going back and saying, okay, this is what worked first quarter, and being prepared for the next quarter, right?
Sure.
So as you enter quarter four, right, into the winter months, a lot of agents start to think, oh, business is going to get slow. And I always believe that that's a self-limiting belief, that we kind of tell ourselves it's going to be slow months, and it happens to be like that because we stop working. Realtors go on vacation. If you want to build your business in quarter four and quarter one, and you want to outrun the competition while everyone else is going on vacation and taking extra time off, really prepare for the next quarter. Say, okay, how am I going to build my business? How am I going to be prepared for maybe when it is a little bit slower, but how am I going to generate business then when other people are not trying to generate? If you're not trying to lead generate every single day, that's your first job as a realtor.
Sure.
Lead generate every day, and then to convert on those leads. So it's about developing that strategy. As Bill said, take out your paper, download Trello, work on your Trello board, and say, here are my priorities and where I'm going to spend my time and energy and my money to generate business.
Absolutely. And don't forget, here at Realistic Realtors, what do we say? It's basically a call to action. Put into action. We just gave you what it takes to map out to your road to success. It's up to you for the follow through and put it into action.
Exactly. And so we have a special guest this week, Cody Lewis from Las Vegas. And he's about as organized as you can be.
Super detailed guy. I mean, he has systems in place that he is the best person we could have present on mapping. It's going to be a great video. He's out in Vegas. He's a mega agent, runs a big team. We're more than happy to have him share all his knowledge. And so listen, at this time, we welcome you to watch the video, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.